Hello, my name is Emily Reniger, and welcome back to another installment of Feature Friday, a segment dedicated to showcasing different student athletes, coaches, and personnel in the Rising Stars Football Academy family. Now, today we have Mark Evans. Coach Evans played his collegiate football in the late 1980s at the University of Miami, in which the Hurricanes won 2 national titles during that time. He also had coaching stops as a graduate assistant at Shippensburg before becoming a head football coach for 14 seasons at Elko High School, and more recently, Manheim Township. Now, with over 20 years of coaching experience, we appreciate the opportunity to speak with him today. So thanks for being here, Mark. How's it going?
It's going great. It's my pleasure to be here and continue to promote the great game of football.
So really, I just wanted to start out kind of diving into you and, your perspectives on sports and everything. So can you talk a little about your sports background and the different sports that you played growing up?
I wouldn't be the person I am today if it hadn't been for football. And I think that's why Ron and I connect so well, because we know what the game of football has done for us and we know what it can do for a lot of the participants. I didn't play football till my senior year in high school, which is kind of unheard of. So I went to junior college for a year and a half at Scottsdale Community College, home of the Fighting Artichokes. So to me, one of the things that I think Ron's mission and mine are so aligned is that you can use football as a vehicle to open doors for you. And like I said, I wouldn't be where I am today. I mean, I was a role player at high school. I was a starter at junior college. I was a role player at Miami. Very proud of being part of an incredible football program and what it taught me along the way and having some incredible coaches. So that's one of the reasons why I wanted to be a coach, was to give back. So not to get too sidetracked, but if there's a will, there's a way. And if you're passionate about it, you might have to just take a couple steps sideways to go forwards sometimes. So, leaving Cedar Crest High School in 1985, went out to junior college in Arizona for a year and a half, started both years there, had 40 Division I football offers, which was incredible. Plus I was 6'5", so that helps. When you have the size, you can't coach it. You either got it or you don't. So that was very helpful to me, and chose Miami, got to be a member of 2 national championship football teams, and got to be coached by some incredible coaches and be around some incredible football players. And then going to Shippensburg right after that to start my coaching career, as well as my school counseling. I have a bachelor's degree in secondary ed history and a master's degree in secondary school counseling. So football paid for both of those. Got a chance to go detour and go over to Italy and play and coach in Italy for 6 months, which was an incredible experience. Again, all paid by football. And I think that's the one thing I want to keep going back to, is that you can use it as a vehicle to open doors for possible career opportunities, or even just to pay for your schooling. So there's a lot of sweat equity that was involved in my degrees, and I'm proud of that. And I think the other thing I like to impress upon young people is getting it. You need to figure out what it is. And I think one of the things, being a late bloomer and starting so late in football, I really didn't quite get it and understand the whole thing about Division I football and coaching at Division II. And then after I came back from Italy and got my master's degree and started my school counseling career, I coached at Lebanon Valley College for 4 years as an assistant coach. It wasn't until I started coaching that first year at Shippensburg that I started to really get an idea of what the coaches were trying to teach me leading up to that point. Mm-hmm. So, one of the things I think is really important is helping young athletes today is understand what it is. And they need to define what it is and realize that what we're trying to get them to do on the field and off the field and in life. And I didn't quite understand it. If I could go back and if we could all have do-overs, I know I certainly would do things a little differently. But as I tell my guys all the time, you only got one shot. So we're really trying to take my experience, or lack of it, at the collegiate level and bring it now to help my high school guys understand that there's great football at Division III. There's great football at Division II and Division I, and being a part of it is something special and unique because not everybody can do it. So that's kind of what brought me here. I'm the longest tenured head coach in the LL League right now, with 24 years, 14 at Elko and 10 at Township. I'm going into my silver anniversary, 25th year this year. So it's certainly been a real labor of love. And I have countless guys that are playing college football, that have played college football, served in the military, are now fathers. That's what it's all about, is seeing what kind of young men they grow up to be.
Yeah, and you said it yourself, like you were pretty new to the game of football in high school, starting basically your senior year. So how do you make that transition? You just wake up one day, say, you know what, I guess I'll play football this year, and then go on to play Division I at Miami.
That's pretty much what happened, Emily. I was a hockey player, so I played ice hockey. I loved it, lived it. slept it, ate it, drank it. By the end of my junior year, my foot started to grow. So I outgrew my goalie skates. And I realized that there wasn't much of an opportunity for an average 6'5" goalie in Pennsylvania. I wasn't going to make it to the NHL. And I thought, you know what? I never really truly played a school sport. Tried soccer my freshman year, but just so bitten by hockey. That's all I wanted to do. And back then, there were no school affiliated hockey teams like the high school has now, the Central Penn Hockey League. And we didn't have any of that. So I was playing at Hershey and Lancaster. And like I said, I just started to outgrow my hockey skates, started to lift weights, got a better impression about myself and said, you know what? I'm going to give it a shot. And I'm glad I did. And that's pretty much what happened. And then I decided I was going to go play football in college. And a lot of the guys were like, you couldn't even play for your high school team. You think you're going to go play college football? And I'm like, watch me. Just kept playing and loving it, and had some great coaches along the way that I've not only worked with, but also coached me. So I'm very, very blessed in that regard. So yeah, that's pretty much what happened. I woke up one day and said I was going to play football. Started the spring of my junior year, and it was the best thing I've ever done. And I always tell kids, it's never too late. I got kids in high school now. When I talk to them, I was like, well, I'm a junior now. I'm like, I went out when I was a senior. Loved being a part of it. And that's the key, is figuring out what your role is and then being the best at it.
And I'd imagine a lot of people who probably start like a sport later would probably stay maybe in state to play at a junior college or Division III. But I mean, you went all the way out to Arizona. So like, what's the connection there? How'd you end up out West?
Well, my dad lived out there. So that was my big connection, was to go out, get to know him. And I think that's where Ron and I have talked too, because you're not only just a coach, mentor, father figure, disciplinarian, there's all sorts of roles you wear and play as a coach. That was important for me. I wanted to go out and try it. Plus, I knew there was an extensive community college system that played football in Arizona. And the difference like between Pennsylvania in the Northeast and out West in the far West is that there are really no Division II and Division III programs in Arizona. You have the University of Arizona, you have Arizona State, and then you have Northern Arizona, which was playing 1AA at that time, is now FCS today. Those are the three big boys in the state of Arizona. And it was junior college football for everybody else if you're going to stay in state. I think that's really a big difference between the Northeast and out in the West. Now, the community college system in Arizona has dissolved and doesn't have football anymore, which is a shame. So Scottsdale doesn't play football anymore. They gave it up. I think that was all a COVID-related decision financially and so on. But it broke my heart. The Fighting Artichokes are no longer on the football field.
And what is that transition like from saying playing at a junior college to a Division I program, not only from an athletic perspective, but I'm sure your academic schedule changed drastically as well?
100%. You transferred your credits just like you would if you were transferring schools. Could start right away. I was redshirted. I was there in the spring of '87, right after they lost to Penn State in the Fiesta Bowl. I think the hardest part is you're coming in where the other guys have already been there for a year and a half in your class. So they've already developed those bonds through redshirting and being the low men on the totem pole. You're kind of coming in mid stride. So like I said, I didn't quite get it. That's the tough part about life is a lot of times it tests you first and teaches you later. And then you realize what you could have done differently. So I always want kids to realize that, you know what, you got to put it out there. If you don't, opportunities are going to pass you by. And I think when I look back on that time, I certainly could have taken more advantage of it, but I got a degree. I got national championship rings. I had the experiences, would have liked to have played a lot more than I did. And maybe that's part of where my lack of experience caught up with me. So as far as the rigor, definitely increased. I lost about a semester's worth of credits when I transferred from junior college to Miami. I was blessed to be able to make it as far as I did with as limited experience as I did have. So I consider myself very fortunate. It took a while to get to that understanding too. And I think that's the other part, is a lot of times not being so tough on yourself and stepping back and saying, wow, when you look back on it, it's like, holy mackerel, what did you accomplish? In other words, by not looking back at all the things you didn't accomplish, look at what you did and find that positive in every negative, which is what I try to make when we talk about football or talk about life in general, is teachable moments. The only way you're going to learn is by putting yourself out there.
And would you say there were like resources available for you at Miami or maybe just in your personal life to kind of keep you on that right track, maybe academically, but also just, staying grounded? You're moving around, bouncing to different states, playing college football. I'm sure it can get pretty tough.
That level, at the Division I level, even in the late '80s, you have academic support services, you have study hall, they do the same thing that they're doing at the Division II, Division III, JUCO. Your coaches are there to make sure that you're on the right track, but then they also have a tremendous support system in place to help athletes get their degrees and stay eligible and do the things they need to be doing, whether they're on the road, off the road. I mean, yeah, the support system is incredible at those levels. Even at the Division III level, your goal there is to get your degree.
And can you talk a little bit about, what you got your degrees in? Because you have an undergraduate, but you also have a master's. So talk a little bit about those degrees and how you're kind of utilizing them now.
I started out as a secondary ed major in history and social studies and did my student teaching in Miami, came back up home to assume a role at Shippensburg University. Was too late to get into the school counseling program. So I kind of had to just take a couple classes. And then I got a chance to go to Italy for 6 months in the spring of 91. Came back in the summer of 91, assumed a role as a grad assistantship with the track and field, and got started into the school counseling program at Shippensburg, which is an amazing program, and finished 2 years working at Scotland School for Veterans Children, which is no longer, they closed their doors, which was a really unique environment, very similar to a Milton Hershey, but state supported. A lot of kids from inner city Philadelphia and Pittsburgh, and was a tremendous experience for me, as well as I got to continue coaching at Shippensburg as an O-line assistant with Marty Schetzel and Rocky Reese, and just some outstanding coaches that really were teaching me a lot about the game. Got my degree in school counseling, secondary ed, which I'm certified 7 through 12. And I've been doing that now for 28 years. Started out at Cedar Crest and coaching at Lebanon Valley College with Jim Monis, who was an amazing coach and an amazing person who helped me learn, again, a lot of the coaching styles that I have today are based on how I was coached. Junior college, it was Dave Haight, Gary Bach, Shane Bates. I mean, I could go on. These coaches really took an interest in me and cared a lot about me and helped me develop. And then I have about 45 credits beyond my master's degree in various coaching as well as school counseling. So that's kind of where I'm at today.
And what would you say really is your coaching style? I mean, you mentioned a couple people, a couple of mentors and coaches that you kind of pull from, but like, how do you find what's going to work best for you in your program?
Well, I think you got to be willing to try a lot of different things, because what motivates this student athlete might not motivate this one. So I'm continually trying to do a lot of motivational stuff. You talked about the Friday piece. We do a Friday focus every Friday before the game, and there's a message involved, but that message was starting to be delivered on Monday, getting ready for the week, and then culminating on Friday with a focus opportunity where we talk about motivation. But we spend a lot of time, not just on the X's and O's piece. We spend a lot of time on developing them as people, timeliness, discipline, the pain of regret or the pain of discipline. You got a choice, little things like that we're always doing. And like I said, I found it late. Glad I found it when I did. And I'm blessed because I found it. And so as far as coaching, my coaching philosophy is about teachable moments. Learn something from every failure, every positive, but you can always find the positive in every negative and use it as a growth opportunity. So, I believe in being available. That's the other part. I think having a presence about you, having an essence about you, letting your guys know who your go-to guy is. Hey, I'm here. You know me. You need something. You got to open your mouth and advocate for yourself, and I'll be right there to help you. So I think that's part of it too, is just being approachable, having a presence about you when you walk in the room, making sure that there's substance behind you that you follow through. And those are the things that we're trying to teach our guys right now. So hopefully they get it, figure it out.
And you have had a lot of players go on to play, at Division I, II, III. So truly from like an off the field standpoint, like how important is your behavior, your presence on social media? How is that all kind of affecting their recruitment process? Because there are a lot of students who have it on the field, but they can't back it up in the classroom and, that off the field behavior.
Well, that's paramount. I've had many college coaches come into my office, and I've had my time as a recruiting college football coach for 7 years, go in and visit schools and see football playing dudes, guys that can play the game. And then I see their transcript and I got to give it back and say, sorry, coach, I can't recruit them. I get the same thing on my end as a school counselor. And we try to talk about it from day one. What you're doing in the classroom as a freshman is going to keep that door open. First of all, I can't make them like you as a football player. Beauty's in the eye of the beholder. I will do everything in my power to help you get to the next level, but you got to seal the deal with your film, the way you're going about your business as far as character. So yeah, think before you post. Social media can make or break you pretty quickly. And then having the academics. If you have good film and you have the good grades, it makes it so easy to get you recruited. And unfortunately, right now, high school kids are really behind the a rock and a hard place because of COVID, all the extra years these guys have been given at the Division I and Division II levels, and then with the transfer portal, because now you have colleges, Division I coaches recruiting Division II and Division III athletes who might have been a sleeper and they really performed well and they have the film and they want to try to move up. And so now what's happening is it's kind of like this free for all. And then the bottom of that spectrum are the high school kids. So you've got to really step up. You got to have those grades. You got to have the ability to play, and you've got to have coaches that like what they see and the measurables. So stuff that Ron, I think, is doing a really good job of and promoting that with his camps as well.
Well, speaking of Ron, like, how did you guys first get connected? Because obviously you talk a lot about similar aspects to how you want to run your camp, right? And I know Ron's biggest thing is making sure that what you're doing in the classroom is paramount and is priority
Mm-hmm.
over everything else. It doesn't matter how great of a football player you are. If you can't back it up with your academics or, being that well-respected and positive influence in your community, it's just not going to
Mm-hmm.
happen for you. So how did you guys, first link up?
Just his hard work with his camp, seeing him at the Pennsylvania State Football Coaches Association clinics and talking with him there, and then knowing that we had a common experience at Shippensburg, coaching against him while he was at Redline when I started coaching at Manheim Township. So I think that's pretty much how it all evolved in that regard. And I'm always very protective of my kids, our players. And if they're going to go to a camp, I want to make sure they get the best buy for their buck and that somebody's not just taking advantage of them. And I really, truly believe Ron's heart is in the right place and is the same thing that we've kind of tried to create with the LL All-Star Football Camp in our area here, incorporating with a lot of my head coaching friends in the Lancaster Lebanon League, giving kids a quality experience that doesn't break the bank, but is going to be a positive experience, because we need to make sure these kids that do go to these camps go away with a good feeling, because that experience could make or break whether they stay with football or not. Little known fact is I did go out for football in 7th grade and played midget. And in 8th grade, I went out again and had a horrendous experience. Did not have a good experience. And I never tried football again until I was a senior in high school. So I think that the experience, you say, well, it's what you make it. But I think the pace of the pack can only be determined by the speed of the leader. And that's where I see Ron and I being very alike as well, is that we have these missions and we have these ideas and we want to make sure that we're giving kids a quality experience. Mm-hmm. So I think that's the hands down priority number one for both of us, Ron and myself, as well as a lot of other coaches. Let's make sure these kids have a great experience and we foster and grow and develop the game, because the game's under constant scrutiny with the head injuries and so on. And I think the game has never been safer. Getting your bell rung back in the 80s was a rite of passage. You can't go through that stuff anymore. There were no serious protocols that are in place now. I think, so when I talk to people about the safety of the game, I genuinely believe it's never been safer. And the technology, the equipment is second to none.
Truly, like, to dive a little deeper with your camp and everything, like, I know for Ron's experience at Millersville University, where he hosts his camp, it's all day. We're waking up at 7:00, we're going to breakfast and we're working all day. Is yours something similar? Like, how do you guys set it up? What are the types of drills that you do?
It's only a morning. It's not an overnight sleepover camp. So we bring in guest speakers. And as a matter of fact, Ron's going to be one of my guest speakers this year, because again, I want to help him promote his good work. And he's been doing the same. And I think that's what this is about. It's about making sure people know that there's something out there for them to get involved in and help them grow and develop skills necessary for the game. And we divide the camp in age groups. So one part of the age group is working on offensive skills, and then the other age group's working on defensive skills. And then we flip. And all the head coaches that are in our area that are helping with the camp, Dave Hahn from Central, Brady Mathias from Columbia, George Egger from Hempfield, John Brubaker from Penn Manor, Vic Ridenau from LS, Brian Stroll from Cocalico. And if I missed anybody else, I apologize, guys, but they're all present. So they're helping getting their kids to the camp. And that's an opportunity for them to interact with them as well. So again, it's that presence piece that's really important for me, to make sure that we're giving our kids and our parents and our community a good buy for the buck, as well as getting quality coaching. Keith Stokes from E-Town, Matt Zamperini from Guard Spot, they're all coming to me now. So I apologize if I missed anybody, but we're building something. It'll be our second year this year. And then what we do is come together and every coach has a team, play a little bit of basically like a two-hand touch type thing. Because of the numbers, it's hard to do flags, just sheer volume of kids that are out there. Well, I'm expecting over 200 kids at the camp this year. Last year we had over 100, almost 150. First year out of the blocks, not too bad. So I'm excited. I'm excited about it. And again, it's skills and drills
Mhm.
and playing some games and having some fun.
All right. Well, I got one more question for you. So we always end on same question every single time, kind of leave everybody on a high note here. So what would you say is one piece of advice that you would like to share with any junior high or maybe high school football player?
Keep being part of it.
Mhm.
Even if you're not a starter, if you're a role player, you're going to get out what you put into it. Don't get discouraged. If you don't like your role on the team, keep working harder and figure out what it is. And you have to define it. The sooner you can figure that out, the better off you'll be. And you'll get out what you put in. So don't give up on it. I wouldn't be the man I am today without it.
Well, listen, I appreciate you taking the time to speak with me. And, I think a lot of our viewers are going to take a lot of really valuable info from this conversation here. So truly just thank you again and hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you for having me.